course, the Champions League quarterfinal between Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona. The visitors favorites over two legs, but thanks to Qatar's millions, it's no longer David versus Goliath. It's, in fact, David and Zlatan versus Goliath. David Beckham and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who are discovering the joys of France and also the joys of its attitude to wealth in these times of austerity. Now, the president of the French Football Federation this Tuesday insisted clubs would not be hit by a new 75% payroll tax on salaries above 1 million euros, since football clubs in France are considered small to medium-sized businesses. But the government was quick to rectify. Of course footballers will pay. An original bill to tax income above 1 million euros was deemed unconstitutional, but last week President François Hollande insisted the 75% bracket would be back, this time as a payroll tax. Critics on the right call it a tax on success that'll scare off investors. Critics on the left bemoan what they see as a symbolic measure, touching only a handful of people, coupled with a measure that would impact millions. A bill introduced this Tuesday that would loosen labor law, allowing temporary layoffs and the outsourcing of employees to other cities. Today in the France 24 debate, we're showing French politics and the Tax the Rich Act 2 of the discussion. With us, French Socialist Member of Parliament Philippe Cordery, who represents the French abroad, your constituency being the Benelux countries.
Yeah, that's right. Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg.
That's welcome. Sitting next to you, he co-authored the Barrez-vous manifesto, urging French entrepreneurs to beat it and move abroad to show up the country's lack of competitiveness. International relations consultant Félix Marquardt, welcome.
Good evening.
Welcome
We say
back.
scram rather than beat it.
You say, oh really?
Yeah.
Scram, okay. Barrez-vous, scram. Tax attorney Thomas Carbonnier is with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And reporter Philippe Moreau-Chevrolet
Hello.
of Le Plus, the French news weekly Nouvel Observateur's interactive website. Welcome
Hello,
back.
nice to be back on the debate.
Nice to have you. The France 24 debate, where you can always join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter. Our hashtag F24debate. Before we discuss the matter at hand, should tell you that we've had news this Tuesday in France. The big story in France is blowing up this Tuesday. Even more than football in the past hours is news that the former budget minister has admitted that he did indeed have secret Swiss bank accounts in Switzerland and Singapore. And he's done something which you don't often see in France. He's issued a very public apology for it. This story breaking as we speak. Philippe Cordery, your reaction to it?
I'm very angry today. Very angry because he did promise the National Assembly, he promised French people that he did not have any bank accounts abroad, and he lied. And today it's more than obvious, but it's an affair of one single person with his own revenue abroad. It's not touching the government or whatsoever. He had resigned from the government, and he will be in court now, and the sort of justice will have to decide on what sentence he'll be affected to. But once again, it's a personal matter.
Philippe Moreau-Chevrolet, this is the man whose job it was to root out tax evasion. Is there going to be big political fallout from this?
It's impacting the image of the government and Hollande's image as well. It's a catastrophe. It's really something very hard hitting the government because he was the guy in charge of all these measures that are really unpopular in France concerning tax cuts, tax increase, budget cuts, and he had to handle all of that. And he was angry at Depardieu because Depardieu has some money in Belgium. He was angry at Bernard Arnault because Bernard Arnault had some money in Belgium. And now we learned that he had this account for, 20 years? I mean, it's also a problem for the governments that they don't know how to handle the communication of their ministers. They don't know, they let him simply defend himself. He did everything he wanted without any being accountable to anyone. and he became a kind of a star during his process of defending himself against Mediapart's accusations. And you shouldn't allow that. I mean, the government should have handled this communication from the start. They should have made some investigations on him. They should have known what was happening, and they should have reacted to it. It's really something very worrying for anybody in France, because now you have this affair impacting the government, and you have also this affair impacting Nicolas Sarkozy. And it's also very easy for the French National Front, the Front National, to make an impact in the next elections, in the coming elections.
All right, a story where a politician covers up the fact that he did something bad in his private life. That happens in a lot of countries. But actually, it does, in a way, touch a little bit to the heart of our debate subject, which is the French and their relationship to money.
Of course that it does. It was just mentioned that this was about his revenue abroad. This is about his revenue, as the French say, au noir in France, and its placement abroad. This goes straight to the heart of the matter at hand today, which is that if you take, too big a proportion of people's revenue, they're going to look at means to, lessen the fiscal grip on them. The fact of the matter is, I think like we're talking about the Tax the Rich Act 2. The Tax the Rich Act 2 is good news in some ways. First of all, it's going to raise more money than was initially planned, and that should be stressed. It was, I think we were aiming at raising a bit more than 200 million euros. It's going to raise 500. It's also going to let certain professions like lawyers, doctors, etc., be left alone and out of this, if not footballers, left alone when it comes to this tax. But the fact of the matter is, it's still raising peanuts compared to the problems in terms of deficit that this country is facing. And second of all, most importantly, we're talking about people. I've been on countless debates these past months about whether the image of France abroad is affected with this talking, if not passing of the law on the 75%. On the rich, sorry. The fact of the matter is, since this has been talked about in the past, from the days of the campaign until now, it has become the only thing that anyone around the world is saying about France is the country with the tax on the 75% on the rich. People are discussing whether the impact is negative or not. This is a joke. That conversation is a parody of a mockery of a farce.
Maybe people abroad don't like us to have a socialist government, but we are
really cute.
Some kind of sovereignty.
Can you just let me finish?
Which government we want to have.
The fact of the matter is, we are talking about whether the image of France is impacted negatively.
Let me
finish, please.
Let me finish, it's a symbolic measure.
That's my whole point. You're raising no money.
Where is the problem?
But in terms of image, it's not peanuts.
Some columnists in the New York Times won't like it.
But that's not just about the New York Times. It's the only thing that people know these days about France.
I don't think that's true.
The only thing.
That's not accurate.
It is the only thing people are talking about.
Press.
We don't talk.
Read something else.
Excuse me. I'm talking about the head of the Malaysian opposition coming to France, who is himself, in many ways, a social democrat. I'm talking about people from the PT, the Workers' Party, Lula's party in Brazil, who come and tell me, when they get off the plane, they tell me, guys, are you okay? Like, what's happening in this country? Are you seriously insane? Are you going to actually, like, is the plan in this country not just to get the poorer people to earn more money, but actually to get the rich to earn less? Is that the plan? So it's peanuts in terms of what it's raising?
You should tell them then, you should explain to them that it will raise peanuts. And that's a symbolic gesture that François Hollande has to do.
I think you have a slight problem of understanding of what I'm talking about.
It did this one.
In terms of what it raises, in terms of money, it's peanuts.
Peanuts.
In terms of what it costs France's image, it is dramatic. It is dramatic. Leave with it? What does that mean?
We have a socialist government. That's the image. That's the point.
I mean,
This is ridiculous.
Philip Cordery.
The image of France is seriously affected by this.
That's not the main point.
And it's
affecting the image of
everyone
France.
is saying
that's a
it.
long-term
And the fact that we
relationship.
would
Let's
even be
pick up-
discussing this
there are more
is
important
such a
things to
joke.
do.
Let's pick up on this
Seriously.
point. Philip Cordery, we could perhaps show images. The man who's undoubtedly the most famous member of your constituency, or the most famous new member of your constituency, is actor Gérard Depardieu, who's moved north of the border to Belgium to dodge tax. First of all, explain for people who don't know this, would he have made it into that 75% bracket under these new rules?
I mean, probably. But let me just come back. I mean, the image of France, when I talk to people abroad, they talk about France's European policy and how François Hollande is changing the relation to, Germany. They
That's
talk about
because
the
you're based in
competitiveness.
Brussels.
They
You're
talk,
based in
Yeah,
Brussels?
but also I go to the Netherlands, I go to
this is
Luxembourg.
a joke.
They talk
Like
about
France,
the competitiveness.
these days,
banks.
people around
They
the
talk
world are
about the
talking
negotiation
about.
with
They're
the
talking
social
about
partners.
Europeans.
No, they're talking about the negotiation with the social
Maybe not in
partners.
Malaysia, but
Which,
outside of
which-
Malaysia, it may be.
This is the image of what the government is giving abroad is an image of a France that's doing something different from
Seriously,
the past.
will you maintain in front of all of us that today people around the world are talking about France's European
Yes.
Union policy?
Yes. No. That's what. But that's
Come on.
about
This
the
is just-
reorientation of Europe. They're talking. They talk
such a
about.
joke.
They're
This is-
talking about the competitiveness.
You know, there's a
bank.
disconnect.
You might know maybe.
There's
Hang on, one at a time,
There's a
otherwise people
major
can't hear.
disconnect
We probably
between the
don't
conversation
talk to
in
the
this
same
country
people.
and the conversation going on out there.
Okay, I
And
see
it's
lots of French
seriously-
people
it's
abroad. I see
schizophrenia.
lots of people abroad, and they don't talk about the 75% only. They might mention it, but it's not
They
the
might
main.
mention it,
it's
honestly.
not the main thing.
They
that
might
people talk
mention
about.
it.
It's not the
Please
main.
tell me, admit that they all mention
No,
it.
they don't all mention it. Far from it. Far from it. And it's not the main. On the contents. It's a question of basic solidarity. I mean, the richer people in France pay less taxes in proportion than the big majority of French. If you accumulate all the taxes, there is less tax paid by the 0.1 highest revenues here in France, which pay on
Because
average.
they are the only
you
ones
can-
who
you
can
can
love
laugh about it.
lawyers.
We have to send a
because they
message.
because
We have
they
to
do
send a message to the
optimization
majority of the voters.
Taxation,
That's
because
the
they pay
truth.
less proportionally on VAT, because they pay less on
Because they
on
have
charges
lawyers.
on labor, because they pay more because they
You
have
should
more
have a
revenue on
flat
capital,
tax
which is
that
less
everyone
tax,
pays,
which is
rather
less
than a tax that is
so
a
they
tax
proportionally
that-
pay less
that
taxes.
the rich in this country
times of
dodge
crisis-
taxes.
In
One
this
at a
terms
time,
of
please.
crisis, you're not going to tell me that those people who earn more than 1 million euros per month cannot pay 75% of the taxes.
Thomas,
They can do it,
Thomas Carbonnier,
and they can stay in France.
you're a
and
tax
pay it.
attorney.
Yes.
And what about the point that those who can afford your services are the rich?
Yeah. I've not only clients who are very rich, but some of them are really, really rich. They earn more than 1 million euros. And they always talk to me, hey, our government has lost its head. Really, we're in a crazy country.
But to the point of, are those people going
1
to
million
are,
euros.
are those people going
Who
to be
earns
able
1 million euros?
Yes, they are
by hook or
able-
by crook to avoid paying it?
Yeah, they can avoid to pay this tax by using financial products like equity swap. I don't want to get in details because it's a bit complex, but they can decrease a bit their wage to be just under 1 million to avoid the tax. And to get the difference by using financial products, I help them to get that result, and they will avoid totally the new tax. So
Seriously.
Hence,
It's
there is
really
no problem.
it's
No,
really
that-
We have to send a message
It's
to the
really-
vast
In terms
majority of the
image,
voters who are living in a
could you
deep
stop
crisis.
repeating this
We are
ridiculous
asking
message
we are
of yours?
asking money
The
from
impact is
small
nil.
people too.
It's not nil. In terms of image, this country used to be the country of human rights and the country of engineers and the country of this and that. Now it's the weird country where people think that being left means taxing the rich 75%. I am a left-winger in the US. I voted for Barack Obama twice.
You're a right-winger in France and you lost the
Excuse
election.
me.
To leave
I
France.
am a
At some point
member.
you have to
Excuse
admit it,
me.
you
I
lost
am
the
a
election.
member. I am a member of the Social Democrat Party in Austria.
I congratulate
I do
you
not
again for your
understand
Malaysian
why
friends
the
too,
French.
but we have to do
I'm
politics
sorry,
in
I'm
France.
sorry,
The
this
tax
is
system in
systematic.
Austria-
We are in a
the
deep
tax
crisis.
system in
We are in a
Austria
deep
is-
crisis.
It's
We
a
are in
very
deep
good tax
crisis.
system too.
It's
can we
drastic.
stop talking negatively about what are taxes? Taxes are hospitals. Taxes are schools. Taxes are France 24, information. Now, can we have a
very
little bit of a
chair you are
positive
sitting on.
talk
Felix,
about what
Felix,
does
the very
taxation
chair you're
mean?
sitting on has been paid by the taxpayers.
I'm against my seat, and I'm against hospitals, and I hate schools.
Give back
And by
your
the way,
seat.
children I
What are we
think are
talking about?
evil.
What are we talking about?
No, but seriously,
We're talking
come
about
on.
redistribution of wealth here.
Yes, and like there's not enough in this country already. This country needs to stop
it's not-
worrying
the richer
about
are not paying
this
enough
country
taxes.
needs to stop worrying about redistribution, which it is already amazing at. It needs to focus on
right, but-
production.
Maybe you
that's what
should
Parliament
worry
is
about
doing.
the crisis and the
Felix
fact
is
that
doing
the
both.
people are living through rough times and they need to have some message addressed to them.
And the message is
François Hollande
we
is
need to help the
needs to
poorest people.
talk to them
not-
and to take
not
measures.
hit on the head the richest, or the people
Please
who will
stop going in Malaysia, go into the streets, talk to people in the cafes.
That is
Try to see the real situation people living in France.
So petty of you to say that.
That's so petty, that's the
It's
truth.
Petty.
You should
petty.
you should go into the
It's
cafes,
very
talk to
small.
people.
It's this big.
Look at how people live. Read the
Oh,
polls.
Yeah,
Read
and
the
I have
polls.
less friends among the poor in this country than you do. It's a joke.
I didn't say you had.
Give
you
me
had
a
friends.
break,
I know you have
all
lots
right?
of friends.
Well, what are people talking to you on the street? I mean,
Yes.
those people that you meet. Do they talk,
Do they
to
talk
you
about the
75%?
75%?
Of course
No, they
Yeah.
don't.
Of course
they
not.
don't.
Of course
we
not.
need-
But that's
what
not
we
my
need-
point.
That's the problem. Hollande is the president of
political
France.
leader
Hollande
is
is not
not
the president
there to
of the
follow
US.
the whims of
Quit
his
our
electorate.
They talk about the
Please,
lack of
they
won't
revenue they
quit
have.
jobs.
Gentlemen,
Next to
gentlemen,
you.
gentlemen.
They won't
Not
quit
for
to
gentlemen.
you.
For the health,
Gentlemen,
for,
please.
for just to eat.
The-
And that's what
the-
They talk about unemployment.
Yeah, we know thanks to this guy, the rich won't quit. So that's okay.
No, they will. A lot of them quit already.
Yeah, they
our
quitted already.
country because they are really afraid.
But not so
of-
many.
No,
to be
really.
honest. No,
Believe
to be
me.
honest. I mean, I live
see
in Belgium.
them.
I see them.
I
The
see
Departure
them.
is one example.
No, really.
I mean, there's
I've
a lot of
seen-
noise around them.
It's not
but a lot of
true.
people
I've
stay
seen a lot
here.
of
There are
There's
a lot
many
of
Nicolas
people who are
who
moving
told
out of
me-
Belgium. You know that.
But no, it's
a
not
lot
true.
of quit
And that's
true.
what the,
are
seriously,
quitting
that there are
our
a few,
country.
but a
Who
few,
will
and there's
give
a few.
us
And we don't
job?
have numbers. We don't have numbers.
To
but
be serious 2 seconds, Hollande
It's
has no
not a
other
big, big number
political
of people.
option. There is a need for him to talk to the vast majority of voters. The voters are angry, and we need to send them some kind of a political message that they can hear. And this is a good political
the
message.
message that they
It
should-
raises
should be
peanuts,
sending
but it's
is-
symbolically
it's- no.
effective. And
It's,
it is
it's symbolically.
in deep need of that.
It's called demagoguery. Demagoguery. That's
It's
what
called
it is.
democracy.
It's,
That's
no,
democracy.
It's
no.
solidarity also.
C'est de la démagogie. It's ridiculous.
Solidarity
It's
is the
insane
word
to
that
say
you
this.
might
It's
use.
populism. It's populism. It's Chavez.
Let's
It's
not,
ridiculous.
Let's not forget that.
Come
there
on.
is a time of
We don't have
crisis.
oil, so it's
Fe-
not Chavez.
Felix
In time of
Marquardt,
crisis,
Felix Marquardt,
everyone
the,
has
the markets, everyone's factored it in. They know it's a dog whistle, perhaps to the far left, which is a coalition partner of François Hollande's for getting bills passed in Parliament.
No, honestly, and this is where I can't accept this. That it's in your circles in Malaysia. It's not true. This is basically like people don't worry all day about France around the world. They have other things to do, right? They're like the French. They worry about shit going on at home. So they have time like once a week to listen to something that's happening in France. Once a week, you know, like the rest, it's just like they have other stuff to do, and that only utterance of the word France that happens every week now.
The last time
is
they heard about
dominated-
France, it was
is
about
dominated
Sarkozy's
by
son.
When we
getting
come
to
back,
the
I'm
APEC.
gonna
So that's a
interrupt you.
nice
No,
change.
No one gives a shit
Going
about the APEC.
That's not
Gentlemen,
true.
It was pathetic.
It made
by
the
way.
titles of the
I will-
press
It was
as far as
it was
China,
pathetic.
as in China.
and it was pathetic.
Chinese
Felix,
newspapers
Felix,
talk about
Felix,
it.
we have to take a break.
It was
Truth.
awful.
We
Chinese
have to
newspapers
take a
talk
break.
about this.
We'll pick up. This is the France 24 debate.